Hello everyone, and welcome back to Alan's Sourdough Adventures. 2 weeks ago in part 1, we prepared this sourdough starter and placed it in the refrigerator for a well-deserved rest. Well, today is the day. We're going to take it out, see what happened while it was resting, and I'll show you exactly how to wake it back up so it's healthy, bubbly, and ready to bake another beautiful loaf of sourdough bread. Along the way, we'll answer some common questions like, what is that dark liquid on top? Should I stir it in or should I pour it out? How do I know if my starter is still alive? And how do I get it ready to bake again? If you've ever wondered about any of those things, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Here's our starter. This starter has been resting in the refrigerator for the past 2 weeks. Let's open it up. Ooh, it's got liquid floating on the top. And it's pretty clear, and there's not a whole lot of it, so I don't think the camera will pick it up, but it's there. Now, if you've seen something like this before, don't panic. This is completely normal. That's right, it's normal. We call that water hooch. Now, what is hooch? Hooch forms after your starter has eaten most of the food we gave it before putting it into the refrigerator. It's mostly water and alcohol that develops during fermentation. The longer your starter stays in the refrigerator, the more hooch you'll usually see, and the darker it often becomes. That doesn't mean your starter has died. It's simply giving you a message. It's saying, I'm hungry! I'm hungry! Think of a little child asking for something to eat. At first, they ask politely. Then they ask again. Pretty soon, they're reminding you every few minutes. That's exactly what your starter is doing. The hooch is simply your starter's way of saying, please feed me. Another question, should you stir it in? One of the questions I hear all the time is, should I stir the hooch back in? The answer is, you certainly can. Some bakers like the stronger sour flavor the hooch produces. Personally, I pour mine off. You see, hooch has a very strong smell and a very acidic taste. I prefer a milder flavored bread, so I simply pour it down the sink. Either method works. It's simply your personal preference. But listen closely, don't bake with it yet. Now look at the starter. It doesn't look very active. There aren't many bubbles. It looks pretty sleepy. That's because it is. It's been resting in the refrigerator for 2 weeks. It's alive, but it's hungry. This is one mistake many beginners make. They pull the starter out of the refrigerator. They mix it into the bread dough, and then wonder why their bread doesn't rise. See, before your starter can make great bread, it needs a few good meals. So let's wake it up. First thing I'm going to do is pour this hooch out of here. I've got a little glass jar here, and I'm going to pour the hooch into it. It's not clear, but it's not real dark. And there's just a little bit there, but I still do not want to stir it up into my starter. Let's open up our flour, and we're going to place a couple spoonfuls of this flour, this is bread flour, into our starter. Heaping spoonfuls, tablespoons. Now then, we're not weighing anything today. One of the things I love about sourdough is that people were making wonderful bread hundreds of years before anyone owned a digital kitchen scale. Now, let's continue. You may ask, why bread flour? And the reason, as we've said before, we use bread flour is that it is full of starch. Those starches become food for the wild yeast, and the good bacteria living inside our starter. They've been resting for 2 weeks. Now it's time for breakfast. In fact, they're so hungry, I think what I'll do is add 1 more spoonful of the bread flour. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of water, and we're going to stir it. Now, we're not going to make this one quite as thick as we did before when we were putting it to rest, because we want this to get ready to bake. A little bit more water. And that's the great thing about working this by eye. We get it to the consistency that we're looking for. And we've almost got it ready. That's almost the right consistency. I think I will add just a little bit more flour because I want it a little bit thicker than what it is. There we go. I'm going to wipe off our spatula just a little bit here, lay it to the side, and remember, we want at least lukewarm water. If you want to warm the water up, get it somewhere between 85 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. You just want a certain, forgot my words. We just want to make sure we have a certain consistency here. So when I add warm water, make sure it's warm, not hot, just comfortably warm. In fact, if you don't have a thermometer to measure it, what you can do is pretend you've got a baby's bottle and check it with your skin like you would a baby's bottle. Hot water can damage the wild yeast. Warm water helps wake it up. Now we have everything stirred together. Make sure that it's the proper consistency, not runny like pancake syrup, not stiff like bread dough. Think of a real thick cake batter or maybe even chocolate pudding. That's the consistency we're after. If it's too thick, you can add another splash of water just like we did. If it's too thin, another spoonful of flour, which you watch me add some. Remember, your eyes are the best measuring tool that you have. Next thing we do is wait. We're going to put the lid on this and we will put it into a nice warm spot so that the wild yeast and the good bacteria will begin eating again. And when they begin eating again, they'll start growing again and they will start bringing your starter back to life. But remember, you can't stop here. Keep feeding it. Don't stop after just 1 feeding. For the next 2 days, morning and evening, repeat the same process. So we fed it 1 time here, and later on today, we'll feed it again. And I want to remind you that sometime during the next 2 days, you'll probably need to discard some of your starter, and that's perfectly all right. You want to make sure you keep room in your jar for your starter to grow. But for 2 days, morning and evening, you need to repeat this process. Take a couple spoonfuls of starter if you want to put it in a separate jar. If you want to keep the jar like I am here, again, you may have to pour some of it out. We call that discard. And then add 3 heaping spoonfuls of bread flour. Then add enough warm water to bring it back to that thick, creamy consistency. That's all there is to it. Every feeding makes your starter a little stronger. Now, what should you expect? After the first feeding, you may not notice much. That's perfectly normal. After the second feeding, you'll probably begin seeing bubbles, maybe a little rise. But the third feeding, your starter should become much more active. And by the fourth feeding, it should be bubbly. It should be healthy. And it should be doubling in size after each feeding. That's when you'll know it's ready to bake. What if it's still slow? If your starter still seems sluggish after several feedings, do not panic. Just keep feeding it. If you'd like to give it an extra boost, replace one of those 3 spoonfuls of bread flour with a spoonful of wheat flour or even rye flour. Those flours contain extra nutrients that wild yeast absolutely loves. Think of rye flour or wheat flour as an energy drink for your starter. After a few feedings, once your starter is healthy again, simply go back to using bread flour. Now, we've talked about hooch, but there's also mold. Is there a way to tell the difference? Yes, there is. And we want to do that before, or explain that, I should say, before we finish today. Let's clean up one important question. Hooch is a liquid. It may be clear like mine was today. It may be gray. It may be brown. It can be almost black. That's perfectly normal. Mold is completely different. Mold is fuzzy. It may be white. It may be green. It may be blue, or it could be another color. If you ever see fuzzy mold, throw your starter away. Let me repeat that. If you ever see fuzzy mold, throw your starter away. Don't scrape it off. Don't try to save it. Start over with a fresh starter. Thankfully, that happens very, very rarely. Well, there you have it. As you can see, bringing a refrigerated sourdough starter back to life really is not difficult. It just takes a little fresh flour, a little warm water, and a little patience. Before long, your starter will be bubbly. It will be healthy. It will be ready to bake another beautiful loaf of sourdough bread. I hope this 2-part series has helped you feel more confident about taking care of your sourdough starter. Remember, your starter doesn't mind taking a vacation. Feed it, put it safely in the refrigerator, take your break, wake it back up, and start baking again. Sourdough should be enjoyable. It shouldn't feel like another chore. If this video helped you, I'd really appreciate it if you'd click the like button. If you're enjoying these beginner-friendly sourdough lessons, be sure to subscribe to Alan's Sourdough Adventures and click the notification bell so you never miss a new video. I'd also love to hear from you. How long have you ever stored your sourdough starter in the refrigerator? Leave your answer or your questions in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy baking and God bless.